Meghan and Harry were invited by Ted Sarandos as a favor to King Charles. And Meghan Markle managed to screw this one up for her and Harry because she's that stupid.
Season 2 of Beef stars Carey Mulligan, who Meghan Markle's outfit
stepped into what would be one of Hollywood's most elite, but the way she left had everyone stunned. They expected the to flip like that, and people couldn't stop about it. Flashbulbs, popping non-stop, big names, film, and everything looked flawless at first, until guests side-eyeing each and whispering across the floor.
Things are not going well for the Montecito duo of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and this is completely evidenced in their latest surprise appearance, this time at the Beef Tastemaker Season 2 premiere, where Meghan was acting, I would argue, manic in most of the pictures that we've seen, which have mysteriously been deleted from Getty Images.
Something clearly wasn't right, and you could feel it spreading through the crowd. At first, it played out like a typical high-end event, all glam and smiles. Within minutes, people started catching on that something was off. Why was Meghan being held up? Why did staff suddenly close in around her? And the big question, why did it look to leave right in the middle of everything?
Can you imagine being kicked out of a party when you're already not very much liked? And when Harry had to move heaven and earth that invitation.
It's Meghan Markle's narcissism, because she seemed to conceptualize other people don't want to be grabbed and apparently wants to.
What really blew things up was the fact that behind closed doors, people had their phones out, recording everything, and those clips started across the internet fast. You can literally spot the exact moment the mood turns, the facial expressions, the strange energy. It all plays out in a way that feels almost too wild to be real.
about Meghan Markle's deranged in Montecito over the weekend with Ted Sarandos, the Netflix boss, is that she hasn't realised yet. You're the one being played, Meghan. You think this is a big victory, and that somehow all of the stories, which are factual, which is that Netflix has dumped your ass.
Now everybody is stuck on the same action down that night. Was it something way behind the scenes? Because from the outside, this didn't look like a small, awkward at all. It turned into a full-on that fans replaying and down. So what was really at stake? Because none of this adds up, and to understand the pressure Harry and were dealing with walking into the moment.
Harry got himself invited and as his +1. The body language in this picture is brutal, is atrocious. Meghan Markle showed up wearing a lime green or whatever color you want to look at from this amazing designer, and the dress is supposed to be nice, but of course Meghan Markle ruins it.
Take it back 20 for a second. That's when Harry and Meghan locked in what was reported as a huge $100 million deal with Netflix. Serious expectations on everything they did from that point on. Yes, $100 million. The headlines were everywhere, and the pressure shot through the roof overnight. This wasn't just another celebrity deal. It was being hyped a bold move that was supposed to shake the entire industry. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex were straight into Hollywood, aiming to build a media empire from scratch.
Meghan tends a bit more manic when things aren't going particularly well. You can almost feel the force and emphasis by her to try and make this Hollywood work.
Why Meghan and Harry were kicked out of the party? They were kicked out. Why? I mean, because of course Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle needed to steal the attention.
People really believed they were about to do the entertainment and run the game on their own terms. The message, crystal, they were ready to pick wrong, to show the royal family, the British press, and anyone who ever did walking away from royal life was the smartest decision they could have made. But fast forward 5 years, and things didn't exactly play out the way many expected. Their documentary series dropped, and yes, massive action.
This whole thing, guys, is essentially bizarre because a lot of the pictures have disappeared from Getty Images. Like they're there and then they're gone. They're up there and they're gone. We've had like multiple versions of different pictures that have popped up and gone.
Meghan Markle had to show up wearing exactly the same color dress as the star of the show. Now, Carey Mulligan allegedly told Ted Sarandos, I am okay if you invited this woman, because of course this is a favor to the king and to Harry.
But not always for the reasons they wanted. instead praised a tier production. The spotlight quickly shifted the claims and controversies inside it, trending and talked about It didn't fully build the creative people thought would come with such a huge deal. Then came Meghan's lifestyle show with Love Meghan, and at first, people were to see what she would. There was real interest building up. The moment action flipped fast.
Meghan is sort of desperate to make it seem like she is a success. She's desperate to show these relationships, to prove people wrong. Go, no, everything's fine, everything's fine. Don't look at all the negative reporting over there. It's all fine, I'm good.
Meghan Markle did it again. Sounds like a Britney Spears song. But Harry managed to wrangle and invite to Ted Sarandos Netflix. And Meghan's hand is involved.
Reviews came in and the buzz faded almost as quickly as it started. Second season, return. Just an egg that had people raising eyebrows instead of clapping. After the Polo documentary hit them, but it barely made any noise. It didn't trend. It didn't spark conversation. The kind of attention you'd expect from something made to a deal that for a partnership of expecting a hit, something dominate headlines. But instead, the momentum kept slowing down. And it didn't stop there.
You can see how the mood changed once Harry and Meghan were asked to leave. And Meghan Markle they made sure that Carey Mulligan did not come in until Meghan Markle had left. And she didn't want to leave. She was making everybody's life a misery because to be present, she's the Duchess.
Meghan is not somebody who generates positive buzz ever.
Meghan's lifestyle brand, as ever, which was closely linked to their image and business moves, ended up losing its Netflix connection completely, adding more questions about what was really going on behind the scenes. That move alone had people asking some serious questions about what was really happening behind the scenes. Something didn't right, and the speculation growing louder. Then came the moment that completely shifted the tone. In March of this year,
Still a wildly untalented actress, a wildly untalented creator. If we can even see ever, wildly untalented when it comes to having a live symphony, actually conveying why the heck you should be into her as a hostess.
And Meghan Markle and Prince Harry were asked to kindly leave. And Meghan Markle allegedly threw a fit. She wanted to get a picture taken with Carey Mulligan to kind of imply that she was also somehow involved in this show, even though she wasn't.
Variety magazine dropped a report waves through the industry. The article laid out of rising tension between the Sussex leadership, and people paid attention fast. And this wasn't just some random rumor floating around online. It was Variety. That name because Variety isn't known for clicks. It's one of the most respected in entertainment. And Variety speaks, insiders listen, studios pay attention, and executives closely.
Harry and Meghan are not doing well in Hollywood. The future in fact, has looked quite for them in the entertainment industry. And I think we can see that Meghan feels it. Meghan feels the pressure, Meghan feels the failure, and Meghan feels so many things. And her solution is to grin as hard as humanly possible to try and sell us a fairy tale that is utterly dead.
Markle once again did not follow the dress code because she needs to break the rules, defy everybody.
So when a report hit, the pressure around it connected to them. Suddenly, every every event, every interaction fewer than before, and that everything right back to that Netflix party. Because walking into that room, Harry and Meghan weren't just showing up as guests. Every move was being watched, analyzed, and quietly from all sides. Every executive, every agent, every publicist, every casting director reads Variety. And every single one of them saw that story and understood exactly what it was really hinting at. No one in that space missed it. And the message loud, without needing to
Meghan Markle and the Sussex squad think this is a win for her. Think that this in some way disproves everything that has gone on with Netflix. All she looks nuts, totally crazy, clinging on to Ted Sarandos' wife for dear life.
I think she knows her goose is cooked. She knows that this Hollywood experiment has failed broadly. And yes, they're still doing things here or there, there's projects, but they've very much been taken out of any sort of creative control.
Behind the scenes, Harry and Meghan did push back publicly, of course. Statements were released, Responses were careful. Everything was presented like it was fully under control. Netflix also stepped in with its own message, trying to steady things. But in Hollywood, once something like that did in Variety, it sticks, doesn't the impact. If any, it can make people look even closer, because it signals there's more going on behind closed doors than what's said out loud. And here's the part that really speaks volumes, welling it all out. Netflix had already been quiet months earlier, going back to July 2025.
When you look at this whole thing, it's obviously such a PR move from Netflix in a way, because they know Harry and Meghan, the one thing they can get from the couple for sure is publicity, nothing else. The issue is Harry and Meghan have this, especially Meghan, has this desperate need to prove her naysayers wrong, to prove that she's successful, to prove that this Hollywood experiment, it worked. There's everything behind the scenes.
It was confirmed the deal would not be renewed. No dramatic announcement. No huge headlines. Just a siders picked up on instantly. And what replaced it? Something called a first arrangement. That might sound harmless, maybe even like a good sign, but in Hollywood terms, it sends a very specifically translates to, "We're not backing you right now." The door slightly open just in case.
I find it suspicious that to this event, where from what I have seen, most people were dressed in black and white, but Meg manages to match Carrie Mulligan's outfit in colour, length, and who was the star of the hour. The private party was for her show, Beef, airing season 2. I can't help but think Meghan found out what Carrie was wearing and deliberately clashed. I mean, it's very suspicious.
What Netflix is doing here is just basically keeping Meghan on enough to where if something royal comes up, they can still leverage the couple. But Netflix is done with Harry and Meghan pretty much. Like, they're gonna have some peripheral interactions on project. I don't think they have any real creative control over anything. I don't think Netflix is really gonna buy anything from them at this point.
It's a commitment, not full support. It's more like a pause to look like a unity. This kind of deal usually shows our studio wants to create without ties. It lets that back while still keeping someone within reach. If something did, it's polite, it's strategic, it doesn't look harsh. But people inside the industry know exactly what it really means. So by the time April 10th rolled around, and Harry showed up at a high-profile gathering at Sarandos.
I mean, that's always been Harry. They show this, they always just think that, and that's actually one of the more grating things about them. It's kind of like, we're not taking any taxpayer money for the to Australia. And then the police are like, well, we're going to augment their security. So that's not true. It was such an easy layup for them to explain that, yes, because of crowd issues, there might be some security that's needed for the police force. We'll reimburse us for that. That would have been so easy for Harry and Meghan. But they can't do it. Meghan choosing colors that deliberately clash and trying to steal attention is very, very Meghan, very desperate, very D-list, but she's always been.
The tension was already there. This situation wasn't fresh. It had been quietly behind the scenes. This wasn't just another glamorous night or a casual invite. This was one of those moments where position mattered ever. Every move could shift. They were seen. They weren't walking in as dominant players in the Netflix world anymore, stepping into a room where the air changed. They weren't being seen as untouchable partners with unlimited anymore. The reality was way more complicated than that, and people in the room knew it. They were space packed with decision makers, insiders, and serious players.
They do know that the only thing Harry and Meghan can do is generate a lot of noise, and so they're leveraging that to help this series. But at the same time too, Netflix has got to realize that Harry and Meghan, the noise they generate is basically always negative. Meghan legit that marrying Harry, returning to Hollywood, would result in the success that has eluded her as an actor. Well, royal title and it is the thing that got you those initial deals. But it didn't make up for the lack of talent you had in the first place.
All of whom had already seen the headlines, heard the whispers, and formed their own quiet opinions before the night even started. And that changes everything. Because in a setting like that, every conversation, glance, every small interaction carries real weight. People notice who you talk to, walks up to you, and even who chooses their distance. It might seem on the surface, and it can shape how your position in that world is viewed moving forward. So when they walked through those doors that night, it wasn't just about showing up, it was about proving something.
Markle's narcissist and she's doing it in a lot of ways, but I think her and Harry are definitely seeing diminishing returns. I think the money is drying up. Harry and Meghan, they just have no good talent here. They shouldn't have gone off to Hollywood. Before in Hollywood, a royal title has not changed that.
Proving they'd influence, still had relevance, and still belonged in those circles, despite everything being said behind the scenes. That's the context people need to understand, because without it, what happened next might seem confusing or even blown out of proportion at first. But with all of this in mind, the pressure they were under becomes impossible to ignore. Suddenly, every moment from that night feels way more tense than it first appeared. The energy makes a lot more sense. That pressure, that strong need to still look successful and still appear completely untouched by all the negative headlines. That's what really explains everything that I did next. It wasn't random, and it definitely wasn't small. Once you understand that mindset, the rest of the night starts to click into place. This wasn't just about showing up. It was about image, perception, and proving something in people who were already forming opinions before a single word was even said. Now, here's where the guest list is a major part of the story. This wasn't just any event. It was a carefully curated, high-level gathering celebrating the launch of Beef 2. Not some loud, chaotic party, or controlled, and packed with serious industry names. We're talking guests like Justin Trudeau, Orlando Bloom, and eyes, a room filled with influence, actions, and people who shape the industry behind the scenes. That alone tells you how much influence was packed into that room. The most important person that night, the one everything truly centered around, was Kim Mulligan. And if you're not very familiar with her background, here's why that matters so much. Carey Mulligan isn't another recognizable actress. She's one of the most respected in the industry. She earned an Oscar nomination for An Education, picked up a BAFTA for Best Actress, and alongside DiCaprio in The Great. Her reputation isn't built on hype. It's built on consistent, serious work people in Hollywood genuinely respect, and the timing even more powerful. Just 10 days before this event, King Charles personally honored her with a CBE at Windsor Castle. That's a huge recognition for her contribution to British drama, and it added even more weight to her presence that night. So make no mistake, this was Carey Mulligan's moment. The entire evening had been designed around her. Every detail, every decision, every part of the atmosphere was focused on highlighting space, making it truly belonged. Even the dress code played right into it, specifically told to wear black and white, simple, controlled, and completely uniform. And there was a clear reason behind that. When Carey Mulligan arrived, be the only splash of color in the entire room. All eyes would lock onto her, making her impossible to overlook. It kind of isn't random at all. It's intentional. It shows just how carefully planned the night really was, down to the smallest. This wasn't about sharing the spotlight. This was about one person being clearly and unmistakably at the mission. And in a setting like that, where everything is so arranged, even the smallest shift, someone pulling focus, someone not matching the tone, and in deal very fast. That's why the atmosphere that was so delicate. On the surface, it looked and effortless, but underneath, it was structured, controlled, and filled with unspoken expectations. And walking into a room likely with everything all hanging over them, every move carried extra weight, and every moment mattered more than ever. And then Meghan walked in, bright chartreuse green. Now let's be clear about what chartreuse really is, because this is more than people realize. Chartreuse isn't subtle, and it's you just throw on and hope is in. This is mission grabbing. It practically demands every eye in the room. The second you step in something like that, it doesn't sit quietly in the background. It takes the moment, was the focus instantly, whether that was the intention or not. And in a setting where every detail had already been fully planned out, that choice stood out right away. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Carey Mulligan, the entire night was to celebrate, had been wearing chartreuse throughout her Beef Season 2 tour. Color had basically become during that whole run. Stylists knew it, photographers knew it, Publicists knew it. Fashion editors were already linking to her appearances, to her image during that moment in time. So, seeing that same color show up in a room designed entirely around her made the situation feel even more loaded. It wasn't some random coincidence. This was a consistent, recognized style choice that people in the industry had for weeks. By the time this event rolled around in April 2026, Truss and Carey Mulligan strongly lit the public eye. Anyone who closely follows the entertainment world have known that, and that's exactly why people talking. Because in a room where the dress code white set up specifically, so Carey would stand out as the only. This choice the entire visual dynamic in seconds. In one moment, everything shifted, and just like that, the conversation anymore. Now people were asked bigger questions about timing, awareness, and intention. Was it a coincidence? Was it a misstep? Something more calculated? Because when you look at how carefully structured that entire evening was, and how much into make Carey stay clear focal point, ignore how much this one decision changed the atmosphere. As Meghan walked in, the energy in the room felt different, and that's when the conversation really took off. Not what she wore, but why she chose that look in that setting at that exact moment. Knowing everything surrounding the event, because not looking at it through that lens. It didn't feel random anymore. It felt like a move that instantly changed how everyone in that room, and later everyone watching online, what was happening right in front of them. This was someone who had been watching major Hollywood plans slowly lose a project to deal to show them the way people and walking into that room, there was another layer to it. Every single person there had seen the variety story. Kind of awareness shifts everything. How you move, how you present yourself, how you step into a space like that. Because it's not just about showing up, it's about being talked about, being seen as someone who still matters in a room full of powerful people. Like that, standing out the priority, being the person heads turn toward, the person conversations start circling around. That's the focus. And if wearing the same bold color to the woman being at night, then that didn't come without tension behind it. The reaction inside the room was immediate, and it wasn't subtle. People noticed right away, and not in a casual pun way. It created tension, the kind you can feel without anyone even saying a word, the kind that quietly shifts the entire energy of a space. Now, what happened has been together for reports, and when you line everything up, that starts it's very hard to ignore. Harry didn't stay at the event. Their time there was cut short for the night in moment. They were asked to leave before Carey Mulligan arrived for part of the celebration, which raised eyebrows. And according to those accounts, the reason was presented forward. Color choice had already, in a way the host had clearly to avoid. Because remember, the entire event had been designed so Carey the only standout presence that walked into the room. Letting someone else draw that exact bold tone risked changing the entire setup. Instead, celebration focused on one person. It could have turned into side-by-side comparisons, quiet, and a shift in attention that no one had planned for, and no one wanted. Reports also suggest there was some resistance in that moment. Meghan didn't want to leave immediately, and there was an effort to stay and be part of the scene and one deal that got people talking. There was apparently a photo with Carey Mulligan. That moment alone added another layer to the situation, making it even more tense and closely watched. Not just a quick snapshot, the kind of moment that could have spread online in seconds, the kind of photo that of a connection between being celebrated. Because in today's world, one single image can shift the narrative instantly. It can signal alignment, relevance, closeness to all in one frame. But in a room that had been so tightly controlled, so carefully planned down to the smallest detail, even that ability became a real concern. About that to chance, every out being watched closely. Once you understand everything leading up to that point, the decision that followed starts a lot more sense. This was an environment that was to be shared, where there was no room for crossover moments, no spontaneous connection to someone else into the event. She wasn't to be the focus that night, and that one photo, the one that could have everything, never happened. Because Carey Mulligan stepped into the room, Harry and Meghan got just like that. It was over. The moment the opportunity disappeared, and whatever unfolded was completely shut down. It even had begin. Then comes one of the most talked about from that night. Multiple accounts that Harry spent part of apology to Ted Sarandos. Let that sink in for a second. A prince, someone who once stood near the very of the royal hierarchy, now in its setting to smooth things over with a major Hollywood executive as the night started going sideways. It's the kind of moment people stop and think, because it's at just how tense and comfortable things may have become behind this. This wasn't a small, awkward situation. It clearly that needed done right then and there. And then, detail that added even more, but Ted Sarandos' wife, Nicole, was reported living in one outfit and later showing up in a completely one. An event that night does not go unnoticed. It instant people talk asking questions. Some sources claim the switch overly enthusiastic greeting, one of those close, full embraces that someone off guard if that expect. According to those accounts, marks were left on original drinking it deep, wearing it through the rest of the. Now, to be fair, specific detail confirmed across the board. But what is confirmed is Nicole did outfits during the event, and the timing of that very closely with Meghan was at the party, which only added tension and speculation to everything unfolding that night. And that's exactly why the story keeps people talking. Even without every single detail fully confirmed, the sequence of events creates a picture the norm. When moments like this one night, it shifts the whole narrative from a appearance much more complicated. By the time the evening moved forward and Carrie Mulligan finally arrived, the situation had already changed. It must have felt different. The conversations had shifted, and whatever was happening behind the scenes had already left its mark on the night. In a setting that was to be flawless, controlled, and completely centered around one person, even a few unexpected moments were enough to disrupt that balance. And once that shift happens, people notice, and they don't forget. That's why this night didn't just fade away like any other event. It turned into something people kept analyzing long after it ended, replaying every tale and trying to connect the dots. Now, this is where things get even more interesting. Because once you look at photos, the story moves beyond simple celebrity talk and starts revealing something about control. They have really been going on behind the scenes. Getty Images had multiple shots from that night. Candid moments, photos, real snapshots that showed what the evening actually looked like. Not just posed smiles, in-between moments that usually reveal the real story behind the scenes. And then something strange happened. Within hours of being published, most of those images were suddenly gone, pulled from the archive, no longer available, just wiped from view. That's not something people, especially in a world where photos are usually saved, shared, and almost instantly. So what stayed up? Only a small number of very powerfully framed images, the kind where everything perfect on the surface. Harry and Mending alongside Sarandos, Nicole, smiling, relaxed, or completely at ease. Those photos told a very specific story. They made it everything was smooth, friendly, and fully under control. Like any tension being talked about was overblown, like none unusual had happened at all. This is where started real questions. It truly went that smoothly. If everything was positive, calm, and comfortable, then why did so many of the more candid, unfiltered images suddenly disappear without explanation? And exactly how it should have been. So why remove the other? Why not let the full set stay out there? Why not allow those candid moments for themselves? In situations where everything goes smoothly, people usually want more visibility, not less. That's what makes details stand out so much. Because removing images doesn't just happen for no reason. It usually points to a need for how something is being seen. And in a situation packed with tension, speculation, and a move like that doesn't reduce attention. It does the exact opposite. People look closer and start putting things together. It pushed everyone to wonder what those missing moments might have actually shown behind the scenes. Of the day, carefully selected to present one version of reality, but the full, unfiltered set often is a different story. And when only the most polished version is left behind, it doesn't the conversation. It amplifies it. It turns what could have been another private moment into some people break down frame by frame, trying to figure out what was left out and why it mattered so in the first, but stayed up, told one version of the night that vanished, though a completely different story. And that's why this moment stands out so much. It suggests there was a very specific image that at all costs. The pot photos showed Meghan composed, completely at ease. They sent a clear message. Everything to question. Nothing to see here, but the missing images created a gap, and people always notice gaps like that. When quietly instantly makes everyone wonder what was in those missing moments. Did they show? What didn't fit the narrative? Curiosity doesn't go away. It only grows louder. And while all was unfolding, something else on the other side of the world was watching. Harry and Ernest arrived there for their first visit since 2018, and back then, it was a different story. They were newly married, the energy was high, the excitement was everywhere, and the reception they got was massive. Crowds once filled the streets, people were excited, and the atmosphere felt welcoming. But this time, the tone has clearly shifted, and not in a subtle way at all. More than 34,000 people signed up for no funds to be used for their visit. That kind of reaction doesn't just come out of nowhere. It reflects a noticeable change in public mood before they even arrived. Australian Member of Parliament even publicly called for their own security. That's a strong step, especially when you compare it to how these visits were handled in the past. Then there's the event side of things, and this is where it gets even more revealing. Harry's mental health summit initially put nearly $2,000 Australian. That's a premium price, aimed at a high-end audience. But reports say those prices be cut in half just to fill the venue. At the same time, Meghan's Sydney retreat is reportedly charging up to $3,000 per ticket, and even at that price point, it hasn't sold out. That alone is raising eyebrows, especially when compared to similar events in the space. Insiders have even described the promotional environment around unusually quiet. The phrase being used, influencer blackout, meaning people with large platforms are choosing not to publicly attach themselves to it. And when you line all of that up side by side, it becomes impossible to ignore. Just 3 years ago, Paltrow hosted a similar event and it completely sold out. The demand was so high, people were saying you couldn't eat babysitter or find a ride that night, because they seemed to be that contrast, volumes, same market, similar style of event, but the response didn't look more different. So while those carefully selected photos were one version of the story online, real-world reactions painting a very different picture. And when you put those two side by side, the gap becomes impossible to ignore. And this is where things take an even turn. Because behind all the headlines, the photos, and the public appearances, insiders are suggesting the real tension might not just be it could be internal too. Multiple reports at the pressure of maintaining a public to create behind not loud, dramatic, but quiet disagreements that don't always make headlines, yet still carry serious weight. Different priorities, different approaches, and a growing gap in how Harry and Meghan handle these high stakes. When you really think about it, their paths don't really line up as people expect. Harry's focus has consistently leaned towards structured events, charitable work, and causes support for years. There's a clear pattern there. Meghan, on the other hand, has been building a lifestyle and media presence that depends heavily on visibility, branding, and staying in the spotlight. On the surface, it might seem similar, but in reality can pull in completely different directions. And moments like that magnify those differences. One misstep, one good interaction, one headline spins out of control, and suddenly they're each dealing with the fallout in very different ways. There's also growing chatter about how tightly it's being managed now, from what they to who they stay, to which photos actually get released. It feels random anymore. Everything looks deliberate and designed to send a message. But here's the catch. When everything becomes that controlled, it can start less natural. And people notice that fast. Audiences are quick to that feels overly staged. That's why moments like the ones from that hit so hard. Because in a highly controlled environment, something slipped, something felt off. And once that happens, it becomes a lot harder to looking perfectly aligned. What's even more interesting is how fast the narrative is shifting right now. Just a few years ago, the focus was on new and building something powerful outside the royal system. Now the focus is completely different. It's all about results, performance, and whether those massive expectations have actually been met. And in Hollywood, it moves fast, faster than most people realize. 1 minute, you're the most duo in the room. The next, people are quietly waiting to see what your next is going to be. That's why every event, every appearance, every interaction carries more weight than ever before. Because now, it's not just about being seen. It's again and again belong at the conversation. And right now, after unfolded. That question, whether they still hold that same level of influence, has been the one everyone is watching most closely. And midnight like nothing happened, as the reaction didn't stay inside that room. It followed her to the internet. Within hours, clips, comments, and quiet observations start online. People weren't just talking about her anymore. They were analyzing her body language, trying to read between the lines. What was really going on in those moments. The way she spoke to, and how quickly the energies around her picked up all of it. Some users pointed out how confident she was walking in, but also how different the vibe felt in the few moments captured later. Others seeing barely any photos of with other guests. At an event with high-profile names, detail didn't go unnoticed. And then came the bigger question that really started gaining traction. If everything was normal, why did her appearance feel so brief? Because that's what stood. An event where guests stay, mingle, and photographed all night. Her presence felt short, like it was cut right before the main moment even began. That's when speculation really picked up. People started connecting the timing of her exit, the missing photos, and those earlier reports about tension with Netflix. Suddenly, it wasn't just about detail anymore, it started to have a much bigger. And while Meghan didn't respond directly, her team completely silent either. Subtle shifts happened. Images were forward, more flattering angles were highlighted, and the focus was redirected toward calm, composed moments that told a specific story. But here's the issue. At that point, people had seen enough to ask questions, and once that key kicks in, not just because a few photos are released. What made it even more intense, that Meghan has always been seen as someone who understands presentation. She knows how moments are captured, how narratives are shaped, and how quickly public can flip. So when something slips through at that level, even briefly, it stands out even more. And that's exactly why this leaps, not because of one single moment, but because of how many small details didn't quite line up the way people expect them to. From the entrance, to the outfit, to the shortened appearance, to the images, it all created a sequence that felt incomplete. And people always notice when a story feels unfinished. The focus completely shifted to what does next. Because aren't like this. It isn't just another event. It becomes a response. Anything is said or not. And right now, all eyes are on how she stepped to that spotlight. Because whatever happens next, quiet the conversation or put to a whole new level. And she didn't wait long to appear. But this time, everything different. Every single detail more cold, more intentional, and way more calculated. Just days after the next party, buzz started building again. She showed up at a much smaller gathering. Immediately noticed the shift. The outfit, completely neutral. The tone, calm, polished, almost restrained. It felt a direct contrast to everything people were talking about. No moments of pulling attention in the wrong way. Every choice seemed like it would to reset without ever addressing it directly. But even with that clear shift, the attention didn't. Everything became sharper. Because now, people weren't just watching what she did. They were watching what she changed and trying to figure out it all. Body language experts showing up in the conversation again, breaking everything down. Her posture, her expressions, even the way she interacted with people around her. Nothing went unnoticed. Was she more reserved, more aware, more cautious? It was just building. And then there was the social side of it. Guests at the event shared far fewer photos than usual, and the ones that did come out highly curated. Clean angles, controlled lighting, minimal background, nothing messy, nothing unpredictable. That pattern started out fast, because in today's world, real moments slip through no matter what. But here felt filtered and reached the public, and her team leaned hard into image. The photos that were released showed her smiling, engaged, at ease. The message was clear, composed, confident, unbothered. But here's the people already have questions in their minds. Images don't always erase them. They can actually amplify them. Because now the conversation shifts. It's no longer just about what happened. It's about what's not shown. That's a much harder question to spreading. At the same time, insiders started how strategic her appearances were. Fewer random drop-ins, fewer unpredictable environments, more controlled spaces, more familiar faces, more settings where nothing could go off script. And that says a lot about where things stand right now. because this isn't bouncing back. It's about managing every single moment so nothing like that happens again. But here's where it gets tricky. The more everything becomes, the harder it is to feel authentic. And audiences pick up on that shift almost. So now, Meghan is in a very specific position. Still in the spotlight, still being talked about, but with every move being watched before. And that big question hasn't gone anywhere. It's only getting louder. Can she fully reset the narrative? Or did that one night change how every future moment will be seen from here on out? Because that's what this really comes down to. One night didn't just pass quickly. It had a chain reaction that's still trying to piece together. When you line up the pressure going in, the guest list, the outfit, the early exit, the missing photos, and everything that followed, it stops looking like a random moment. It starts to feel like something much bigger, the conversation, in a way that's still unfolding. For Meghan, this wasn't just another appearance. It turned into a moment people are now using to question everything. Her standing in her decision-making and how she handles in rooms where every move is being watched closely. With the narrative or not, one thing is clear. The spotlight hasn't shifted. It's gotten even brighter. Now all eyes are locked on what happens next. The next public moment. It all carries more weight now. Because in scenes like this, what comes after matters just as much as the moment itself. Will things settle down and slowly fade out? Or will this end up being the turning point back on and say, that's where to change? That's the question everyone is asking right now. And the answer is still playing out in real time. Now I want to hear what you think. Do you see this as a misunderstanding that blown out of proportion? Or does it feel like there was something more hanging behind the scenes? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this story is where it brings something new to the conversation. And the story doesn't just stop here, it's still unfolding in real time. Every new appearance, every quiet move, every public moment adds another layer to what is really going on. Because once a narrative like this holds, it doesn't fade easily. It sticks, it builds, and it keeps pulling attention back in. Now, that attention is locked in forever. The real question changes everything, or adds even more fuel to already being said. Because in a spotlight, this intense, even the smallest move, can shift the entire conversation in an instant. And people are watching closely, waiting to see how this next. As this continues to unfold, one thing to ignore. Stakes are higher than ever. Every move now feels like it is double the weight, and every decision is being viewed through an upper lens. Because once a moment like that goes public, it doesn't just appear. It reshapes how people interpret comes after it. Now it's not just about showing up, it's about how you show up, who you stand next to, and how it's going to be received. And in a space like this, where perception can overnight, even the detail can a new wave of conversation. That's why this situation still has people watching closely, waiting to see if that move changes the narrative, or pushes it even further. And if you made it this far, you already know this story is far from over. Things are unfolding, twist, even bigger than anything we've seen so far. So make sure you hit like, subscribe to, and share this with anyone else who's been up with all of this. And don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what you really think is going on. Stay locked in because the next change